what are some other resources within the community that you refer people to as they're in transitional housing or as you're trying to help them stabilize their finances?
Well, we do some clothing vouchers. We work with Belmont Baptist, the ABC Clothing Closet, as well as the Schoolhouse Thrift Store. I recommend that folks really look to those kinds of things to save money rather than buying new clothes, particularly for children who grow out of them so quickly. Social services is always a resource to see if you qualify. And I know for folks who have never sort of used those resources before but who have lost their job, it might be hard and difficult to do that, but it really does help. Having the food stamp assistance, temporary assistance for needy families, those things can really help you get through and get you back on their feet. I know people hear welfare, they have a stigma against it, but those are designed to help people get through tough times and get back on their feet.
That's what it's there for. Right?
So I encourage anybody who has lost their job to go to their local service.
Social
Somebody
services.
help me.
I got it. Local social services.
Agency and see what you are eligible for, because it really can help.
Absolutely.
And the reality is that when they were working, they were paying into that.
Sure.
They've been paying for it, so it's there when they need it. Yeah. And I can't imagine how hard it would be to have to go to social services and ask, but that's the reality. We're all paying into it so that it's there when folks need it.
That's a great point and an important point, because most people don't think that they qualify for those programs. Oh, that's not for us. That's for people that live in subsidized housing or, lower income or something like that. That's not true.
I wish somebody had told me that when I was in college.
There you go. Yeah.
My money could have stretched a lot further, I'll tell you, because I was working full-time and going to school full-time and paying for school myself, and I never thought to use those resources, and it really could have helped me.
Could have even, if it was $25 a month or in food stamps, would have definitely helped.
Absolutely.
Anything. So
there's
the suggestion would be to seek out what resources are there.
Absolutely.
There's also local food banks, different churches that provide food that can help stretch the budget, as well as if you do qualify for food stamps. Oftentimes it gets really tight at the end of the month in terms of what food is available. And those are resources you can use, and a lot of those places don't ask you to provide any financial information or things like that. It's just the kindness of the people who want to help somebody who's in need, and so there's not a lot of questions that they ask. And I have a whole resource guide of just food, so people can contact MACA if they think that they need that, or somebody they know might need that. We developed just for food.
That's wonderful. Wouldn't this be a good time to say, if your church or whatever group you're with, and if you offer this type of services, give us a call so we can use you as a reference as far as to refer people, because there's so many people, like you said, in the communities that we all serve that have a small food bank or some type of a pantry, or are willing to help someone in need. So if people have that service out there, call MACA, Piedmont Housing, Habitat, because there's so many people in need right now, and every little bit that comes together could help somebody, and it could be, what makes them not get evicted or not have food that night, or something like that.
There's also a program I want to mention. It's housed at the Salvation Army. It's not a Salvation Army program per se, but it's the Homeless Intervention Program, the HIP program. And Barbara Foley is the person that's in charge of that. And so it's a program designed to prevent homelessness. So if you've lost your job, or you had a surgery, or you had an accident that's caused you to stay out of work, you can call and see you may qualify. And they can help people, I think, for up to 9 months.
Correct. With the financial assistance.
With the financial assistance.
And we've used them in a mortgage situation and a rental eviction situation. So it's both. So it's a great resource in the community.
So Marnie, as we sort of transition out of transitional housing, you're placing people into both subsidized and market rate rental housing, or it just depends on the family?
It just depends on the family. encourage a lot of folks to get on the public housing list. It is real affordable. It's real affordable housing and project-based vouchers.
30%.
Yeah, but there are some folks who are able to. For example, I've had one family that I assisted, we were able to get child support, which she had never thought she could get, and she was able to get it and moved into market rate rental because she then had the income to afford market rate rental. So, really the key in all of that still is budgeting and knowing how much money you have coming in.
And that's what I was just going to ask you. There's so many rental options out there, for someone who's looking at, well, should I look at subsidized? How do I know what I can afford? What do you tell people about that?
I would start with either seeing a counselor, either at MACA or whatever you're looking for. Home ownership's going to come to PHA or Habitat or something like that, also to MACA. But first you need to look at what's happening in the house. What's coming in, what's going out. And I know I sound like a record, but people need to understand what money they have. Because the lenders, if you're going to get a loan or whatever type program that you're going for housing, they're going to pre-qualify you. So get a step ahead, get your financial situation checked out. How's your spending habits? Because how you spend your money now as a renter is not going to be any different as a homeowner, but you might have more expenses as a homeowner because now you are your own landlord. So people need to have a little different strategy when they become a homeowner to think about, wait a minute, if something breaks down, I can't call anybody. I can't call the landlord or the maintenance person. I need to budget for those. So I think it's really critical is first to assess, what are you doing? What is the house doing? How are we functioning? Do we have money that we can safely put in the savings and we can still meet all of our bills? And if the tire breaks down or I have to go buy new tires, I have the money and I'm not taking away from something else. And if my rent or my mortgage payment is due on the first, I pay it on the first and not the second. And that's another flag.
Okay. I've heard for affordability, oftentimes people shoot for 30% of their income as a general rule, but reality might prevent a lot of people from sticking to 30%. But I guess ideally,
right, that's sort of the golden rule of
something to shoot
and
for.
that's a federal rule too, like for our subsidized housing and things like that. But it makes sense.
And we've discussed the different housing options for people: public housing, housing vouchers, subsidized housing, private landlords, and apartment complexes.